Hi, Jennifer. Oh, yes, now I'm recording. Okay, cool. So this has, this looks like this last section of 25 is the only one you're really having trouble with here. But most of 25 was about solving equations, right? So they'd have something like, I don't know, x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0, right? So what you do when you do these things is it really kind of still comes down to factoring, right? But instead of the question just saying factor the polynomial, we're solving the equation. So we factor this guy, and I guess he's x plus 2 times x plus 3. We can check that works out. We have 3 plus 2 is the 5, and 3 times 2 is 6. So when you have two things multiplying together to get 0, there's only one way that's going to happen. Either x plus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 3 was equal to 0. And so you get that either x was either -2 or -3. Right. Now, again, I know you've been through all this, so I know it's a little bit of a review, but it's like it only worked because it was 0. I was able to say if I'm multiplying these two things together and the answer is 0, one of those things had to be 0. So if it didn't say 0 over here, if it said anything else, I don't know, just for example, it's a different thing, right? Because I can factor this guy, this left-hand side, but now I'm just saying I'm multiplying two things together to get -6, and that's not useful to me, right? Because there's a lot of different ways I could have gotten -6 between these two numbers. So that's not going to work. The only way it's going to work is if it was 0, right? So what I do is I have to make it 0. So I guess if I have -6 over here, it needs to be 0, so I guess I add 6 to both sides. And then you can follow it from here, right? So you just, whenever you hit an equation, anytime you have a squared in here at all, the only option you have is factoring it with 0. The second you see any squared, everything has to move over to one side of the equation, so you have a 0 on the right-hand side, on the other side, I guess. And then you can factor it and solve it. So, I don't know, and again, you seem to do pretty well on that. It's just when they made them these word problems, I guess you got a little confused. But you have to keep in mind when you're doing these word problems, the most important part is that it's one of these two. You're doing this kind of thing, right? So you don't want to make, so you know it's still in that section where you're solving quadratic equations or solving polynomial equations. So that's, make sure when you're looking to do it, you're looking for how do I get that out of here. So if you look at some of these questions, this one, for example, the words are completely irrelevant because that gets difficult about the word problems when you have to come create the equation, right? Once you have the equation, you're essentially done. In this case, I didn't have to create any equation. They actually just literally just gave it to me. And you drop it from a building, and the height after t seconds is this, right? So plug in whatever time you get the height. Okay, how many seconds before the object hits the ground? Well, I guess when you hit the ground, the height is 0. Oh, and in fact, you didn't even have to figure that part out because they actually even just told you. So there's literally nothing going on here that we weren't doing in the previous sections, right? So I'm just going to set this guy right here, 16. Scratch work over here. Okay. I'll just, so I just got 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 676. And so I didn't have to do any trick where I moved everything over to one side of the equation. I've actually already done it. Anyway, it bothers some people to have it just flipped around, so I don't know. Just for aesthetics. A lot of times I'll just turn it around just so it looks normal. So then, just back to the left-hand side, and you're done, right? So I guess I bring out a negative 16, and I get t squared minus 676 divided by 16 is, oh, I guess not 16. I'm sorry, 676 divided by 4 is 169. This guy right here is a difference of 2 squareds. It's 2t, and that's 13 squared. So I've got negative 4 times 2t plus 13, 2t minus 13. So, right, either 2t plus 13 is equal to 0, in which case t is negative 13 over 2. Or that guy was 0, in which case t is positive 13. Shoot. 13 divided by 2. Well, and I guess since we're talking about an actual time, I'm going to throw out that negative. And I just get, oops, t is 13 divided by 2. Oh shoot, I deleted him somehow. There you go. And that's your answer. I guess they want it as a decimal, right? So I guess that's 7 and 6.5 seconds. They don't. Okay, sure why that X came up. That's definitely right. You could check me, plug 6.5 into here, it's right. So I don't know, I'm on a weird system, so don't worry about it. Now this is the same thing, but instead of setting S equal to 0, oh no, it is hit the ground. But yeah, so I do the exact same thing, I'm just setting this guy equal to 0. The exact same thing, right? They even give you the equation. Well, they give you this silliness, but we don't care. All I'm looking at is that equation right there. And now I want to know, and when will it be a height of 64 feet? So instead of setting it equal to 0, you have that equal to, so we'll do this one. So I got negative 16t squared plus 64 plus 4, I'm sorry, 64 equals 64. So he's not going to work yet because I have to subtract, I have to get it 0, right? So he had to subtract that over. So I'm going to minus 64 from both sides. And I get negative 16t squared plus 64t minus 60 equals 0. I guess you can bring the negative 4 out. Watch your signs. Oh, I'm sorry, still equals 0. Then, I don't know, I guess you gotta factor this guy. So So I guess, I don't know, you go through this business. What I gotta multiply to 15, and I gotta add to 16. But those are 4 here. I guess 10 plus 6. Did I do that right? 4t squared negative 10 minus 6 is negative 16. Okay, or whatever it is you were doing to get this. I know you were factoring fine, so whatever process you're using, I don't want to mess it up. But then there you go, you get your answer. So I guess you're going to get the t is either 3 halves or 5 halves. Now, it makes sense that you would have 2 different answers here, because if you imagine something's, I'll just make a little parabola. If you threw it up in the air, it would go up and then come back down. So at some point in the middle, it was 64 once going up and then again going back down. So 2 answers would make sense. Now hitting the ground, that's only going to happen once, right? So, okay, so a lot of these are just these kind of questions. Again, same thing. Now look, here's the main point about these word problems, especially here in this section. There's no reason for you to really spend a lot of time reading. There's your equation right there. I have a v, and that's going to go find my velocity. That's going to be 11. I have an h. There he is at 12, right? 12 meters high. And I'm setting it equal to 0. All right, there's my equation all right there. You just notice I didn't even read that question. Negative 5t, squared plus, there goes 11. See, I see the v for velocity. I just looked for the meters per second. I knew that was a velocity. Right, velocity is like a speed, like miles per hour, meters per second. And then I see 12 meters. Okay, that must be my height. And there we go. We're off doing the same problem we were doing before. Factor this guy. I don't know. I would change the signs first so I don't have to worry about the first term being negative. But again, I don't want to mess too much with your factoring because you seem to be doing all right with that. Okay. Solve it from there. Again, the most important part is you're doing that fine. Just affect those words. There's no reason that should throw you off. But I think the most important part I've always thought when I'm doing a word problem is to, since I know I'm only trying to do the math part, I would, again, barely read the question. Right, you're just going to plug stuff in and do it just like you've been doing all the other problems. If you're doing all the other problems fine, the word problems should be the easiest ones. Here it is again, just like the other one. At some point, you're going to get these area problems. Oh, here he is. Let me just check. I think this is, once I get to the area stuff. Oh, another one of those. Man, they really like this height equation. Okay, the other one, they got all these area problems. So let me show you how to do these. All right, so I'm trying to find the length and width of a floor. All right, so I need to find both things, and let's see what they give me. So those are the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for a length, and I'm looking for a width. In fact, here at the question they say the width is this, and I guess you see one part remaining, so it must say the length is this. So the floor has an area of 90 square feet. So I guess, let's kind of write some notes over here. Area, which is length times width, is going to equal 90. I have to figure out what the combination is that will make it 90. I don't know, 40, 45 times 2, 10 and 9, I don't know. But I've got another sentence. What is the next sentence saying? The floor is, it says right here. Okay, so the floor is in the shape of a rectangle whose length is, okay, so I'm going to write this down as I read it. The length is 3 feet less than twice the width. So whatever twice the width is 3 feet less than that. Right? Double the width, then subtract 3. Not the other way around, right? Just because they say the 3 first, it's less than. So I don't know. Again, you know what I always do with these situations when it's like it's 3 feet less than twice the width? I just insert a number in there for the width and see how if it was 3 times less than twice 8. Okay, twice 8 is 16, and 3 feet less is 13. Okay, so of course you subtract afterwards. I don't know, however it is, but less than twice the width, so it's down there. Well, all right. Now I have a length in terms of width. So I can say that the width times the length, which is 2w minus 3, is going to equal 90. Oh. And now, if I distribute my w, we're starting to notice this looks just like all the other problems we're doing. So again, it doesn't work, right? Just like it does up here. It doesn't work if it's not 0. The only way this whole thing works, you factor trinomial, and you got a product of things that are going to 0. So I've got to move the 90 over. Then I guess I factor this guy. So I'm looking for the combination. I got to multiply to 90. And then I got to subtract to 3. So, sorry for a second there. So what I got to multiply to 90. So 5 times 18 doesn't work. 9 times 10 doesn't work. 6, that's 90 divided by 6. 15. So that would be 15, and 2 times 6 is 12. Oh, cool. So I need to get, I want to say it's minus 6 and plus 15. It'd be 2w squared minus 12. Oh no, I'm backwards. Right. Yeah, plus 12 minus 15. Okay. So now you got 2 options for w. Divided by 2, which I guess is 7.5. Okay, so, but I guess we're talking about an actual rectangle, right? So -6, we can throw that out, right? Because the width is not going to be -6. So I guess talking about it being 7.5 meters or whatever. Okay, so I guess that means the length is just plug that 7.5 into here, right? Which is 15 minus 3, which is 12. So I guess 7.5 and 12. So there's your width. Well, I don't know. I can't highlight. There's your width, 7.5. There's your length, 12. But really, like I say, the main point is knowing what you're trying to do. Especially since looking over your work, you seem to be doing just fine on this part, right, from here on. The only thing that's different about these word problems is how you get this set up. So don't get too caught up in the words. Again, you'll notice a couple of things I did when I read this question. The very first thing that I read was the last sentence to know what I was looking for. Then I went back and I just picked stuff off as I went through it. Again, any of these word problems. No, I hadn't looked at them before I came here and did this. So I'm not saying like, oh, I don't want to do the idea that I had like planned it all out and everything. I wanted you to see how I went through the word problems. I wanted you to notice that really with any of the ones I did, I never actually read the question. Right? So remember, right, just make sure you know what you're trying to set up the problem, know the things you're looking for, area, length times width. So you know it's 90, then you got your other sentence. On that, you're off and running. So I don't know, I hope I wasn't too